And we're live. Welcome to our first football episode for 2026. Hope you guys are all doing well. Enjoyed the holidays, the new year, new me, all that kind of jazz. And new year, new playoffs. We're really excited. Both of our teams are in. Corstian's Broncos are taking it easy for 1 week, while my Bears are going to make me sweat it out and really worry this entire week on can they beat the Packers again to get Ben Johnson that second win over LaFleur that he promised us that he enjoys. So, Corstian, first off, before we get into any important and very serious stuff, how are you doing? How was your break? What are you looking forward to?
Yeah, doing good. Obviously looking forward to some good football. Caught a little cold recently, so a little bit recovering from that, but isn't too big of an issue right now. Yeah, but otherwise, it's been a decent break. How about you, man?
It's been busy. As you can see, I am not in my same locale where we have orange background. So I recently moved. I'm moved up north of where we currently live in our hometown, and now I'm in a new place. So really excited about that. A lot of work went over the Christmas holidays into shifting stuff around. My commute has been cut from 2 hours to a measly 20 minutes. So really excited about that. No longer having 9 p.m. podcast recordings and trying to scramble for the next day over. So still getting adjusted, still getting into the routine, but really excited. Lots to do here. I love where I'm at. Also love that the Bears are doing well too. So did not like that Lions game. I was really upset they came out flat. That is not what you want going into the playoffs. But I'm excited. I haven't seen the Bears play in January in about 6 years. So this will be a fun change and hopefully a sustainable way of football. So what wasn't sustainable was the head coaching positions of teams that decided to let go of them, like Black Monday and today, if you're John Harbaugh. So 7 teams in total now have fired their head coaches when you consider what Tennessee and the Giants have done in the middle of the season. And now you have the Cardinals, the Falcons, the Ravens, the Browns, and the Raiders all adding to the list of firings that have been going on across the league. Just your reactions. I guess the one thing for me is, what was the most surprising thing to you? And is there like a head coaching candidate that stands out that like all of these teams need to target? Is there somebody like a clear, like head over shoulders, like you would go for? You're one of these teams.
Yeah. Well, I've already heard that like Harbaugh has received 7 calls from other teams asking for a head coach interview. So I feel like he's already the hottest coach on the market right now. I understand why there was like the parting of ways between the Ravens and him. I think it's a similar idea of what I think the relationship of Mike Tomlin and the Steelers is. I mean, the difference is the Steelers are in fact in the playoffs right now. I think the Ravens not making the playoffs is kind of the final, what do you call it? Nail in the coffin to like end up firing Harbaugh there. But like, so I'm not saying I'm surprised, but I think he is going to be a top sought after head coach in this market. I know there's also been talks of like a couple coordinators, like one being Vance Joseph as a kind of a top potential head coach from a coordinator candidate. People are saying that he might go back to Arizona just because he has experience, at least as the defensive coordinator there, that he went to Denver, and now he might, with the opening head coach spot there, he might move there. But that's kind of my thoughts on the head coaches.
Yeah, I was really surprised by the Harbaugh one, to be honest. I know it's been lingering all season, given like how the Ravens have started and the injuries and whatnot, but I thought he coached his butt off in the second half. His refusal to fire offensive coordinator Todd Monken, I agree with. Ever since Monken's got there, the Ravens have unlocked Lamar. They've done everything right. They've just had a string of unlucky events the past 3 years, and it's kind of crazy to me that a kicker just shanking a field goal leads to John Harbaugh not being with the organization after 18 years. And I know it's not that simple, but I just look at the way they ended that game, and I came out of the way thinking like, man, I would not want to see the Ravens right now with the way they're looking and the way they're being explosive. And they should have won that game. And it was just unlucky. Like think about what the Steelers think about what Boswell was thinking in his head, you know?
Yeah.
But in that singular moment, I kind of understand the tough call there. So I was just surprised because if it was me, I was like, I would have kept Harbaugh and I would have just continued building around talent. But another half of it is like, we miss out on the chance to like capitalize on having a superstar quarterback like this. So not surprised he's getting calls from around the league about it. He is a great head coach candidate. One landing spot that's intriguing to me, and maybe you might disagree with this, is the Raiders. Because Tom Brady leading the charge. You have centerpieces in Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty, who are young. Like, you have ready-made pieces. And actually, I'll throw a second team in there because you could make the same case for them too. The Falcons. Because you've got Bijan, you got Kyle Pitts, and you got Drake London. You got more people, and Michael Penix. Like, somebody, like, is going to unlock all of them. And if I'm Kevin Stefanski, I'm looking at Atlanta as a great option. But I'm also looking at Las Vegas because you just got great talent to work with, talented pieces to work with at key spots. And those would be the two, if I was an offensive-minded head coach, where I would want to make my mark, choose my quarterback, build around it, because you can't find a Brock Bowers or Bijan or Ashton or Pitts in London, let alone all of them on the same team, like within the organization. So those are the two desirable spots for me. Baltimore as well, obviously, because they're Super Bowl caliber right now. But yeah, and then potentially Cleveland, but I would not want to touch Arizona, even though Arizona has as much talent, because there's so much toxicity going on in that organization where you gotta figure out how to deal with it. So to that you say what?
I think these teams have like different aspects to them which are interesting. I fully agree that the Falcons are probably one of the most exciting teams to like look over to be a head coach. And like that was the team that I was saying that, this could be like early on in the season. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the Falcons head coach Raheem Morris got fired, simply due to the fact that I think everybody had really high expectations for the Falcons this season, just for them to, basically they kind of sputtered towards the end of like, hey, maybe we can make win the division just because the rest of the division is playing so poorly right now. But like, that was not anywhere near the expectation for the Falcons, which is ultimately why I think, you fire the head coach there. It's kind of surprised with the GM firing there, though, considering like the overall level of talent that was brought in by the team. You get a superstar defensive, a pass rusher in this most recent draft. You have to draft quarterback almost no matter what, I guess, with your most recent pick. But I guess it's a culmination of, the head coach misses, and then I guess the signing of Kirk Cousins when you had a quarterback first-round draft pick in mind would be kind of the biggest, I guess, indicators of that. But then, with the Raiders, I think the Raiders are much more rebuilding from the ground up, because you look at the team and, like, on offense, you have honestly, like, two pieces that are worth keeping on the roster next year, in my opinion, right? Because I think you can overhaul pretty much the rest of the offense, I guess, outside of like the rookies of this current season, and not do any worse than you're doing right now with this Raiders offense. And then on the defensive side of things, I'm assuming Max Crosby probably stays, but the fact that he was really upset and like literally left the building after being told that they were going to sit him out the last two games just to avoid any risk of injury. if he demands a trade, that's another thing to consider of like, hey, your centerpiece on defense is no longer wanting to be on the team. Like, well, you got Tyree Wilson, who has like 2 sacks in his 3 years in being in the league or whatever as a starter. Like, it's not a very enticing defense to come into. So you got 2 solid building blocks on offense, but then the rest of the team honestly feels like complete shambles to me, where I thought there was maybe some potential going into this season. I think that's what they expected, where they brought in Pete Carroll saying, hey, Pete Carroll is a historically good coach. Get him with a guy like Gino, who's shown in the past couple of seasons he can be good, especially when he had Pete Carroll for that one season or whatever. Maybe, we can do an 8 to 10 win type of season, which I think a lot of people are like, maybe that could be possible, but then it just completely fell flat on its face. So, it's a huge order. It's going to be a situation where like the coach will have to convince the team that give them more than a year, because they keep on firing a coach after every losing season, which is also part of the problem here. But it's going to be a whole culture reset of like the team is going to have to acknowledge they will suck for the next like 4 to 5 years. Which almost
think about the teams in their division. 2 of them are going to the playoffs. None of them are the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. Chiefs are going to be better next year.
Right. And so it's like, in my head, I'm almost hesitant for the Raiders to draft a quarterback, because everybody's saying Raiders draft quarterback with their first pick, right? I mean, that's kind of like this is what you do. You got the pick, you take the guy. But like, they have no O-line. It's just going to be a case of, I think you draft a quarterback first overall, and it's going to feel like another Bryce Young, for the first couple seasons at least. And even now, where he still has his up and downs, but like, you're going to have basically that production, which isn't going to really elevate your offense to much to anything, just because you don't have an offensive line to help anything. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the Raiders move forward in terms of trying to make a competitive team overall.
Yeah, if I were them, I would trade down and try it. And because they already have 10 draft picks, I would get as many as you can and just buy and just throw as much of the wall as possible and see what sticks. I think for me, just one last tidbit about this is like Jesse Minter and Jeff Hafley. Keep an eye on those guys, because I think Jesse Minter is the next Mike McDonald. What he's done with the Chargers defense since he's been in that position has been like nothing short of remarkable. Consistently filling teams that are holding opposing offenses to about 20 points, turn the ball over, and continuously like if the Falcons don't go offensive minded for some reason, like he would maximize like all their pass rushers that are 24 and younger, Xavier Watts, like the amount of talent the Falcons have there, like that'd be a great fit. But personally, like if you're not going to Harbaugh, I would look at Minter because he has the makings of something special there. And then happily, you see him what he's done in Green Bay the past couple seasons, and I want the Packers defense to suck next year. So that's why I said that.
Yeah.
Alrighty, should be fun, but what's more important right now are the playoff games. So with the Wildcard slate, we got 6 different matchups ahead of us for the next 3 days, starting on Saturday. Before the Bears and the Packers square off, we got the Rams and the Panthers. Last time these teams faced, the Panthers got the W, but I think a lot of people are favoring the Rams. Right now, the Rams are 10.5-point favorites in this game. That seems a little bit big to me, but I'm not a betting man anymore. So I'm not going to tell you what to do there. Rams are first in scoring, 30.5 points per game. Their defense is pretty solid too, top 10, 20.4 points per game allowed. I think the big thing I'm looking at here is, are the Rams going to turn over the ball? Because over the course of the season, they turn over the ball less than once a game, like about 0.9. It's an anomaly that they do turn over the ball. But in some of their losses late in the season, Matthew Stafford has given it up. And it may be why Drake May wins the MVP this year. Those late game slides. The reason I say this is because both the Panthers and the Rams are great at taking the ball away. Rams are sitting at 1.7 per game. Panthers are at 1.5. They're both top 10, top 7, in fact. But the difference in the game might be if LA doesn't play up to their best and starts turning the ball over. I think that will really dictate what happens here. But what are your thoughts going into this game?
Yeah. I think the turnovers will be like a huge factor within this game. Like, can the Panthers force the turnovers? Because even if the Rams can play a clean game and not even force like on offense and then not even force turnovers on defense, I think the offensive power of the Rams just is able to overwhelm whatever you got going from the Panthers. It's not to say that the Panthers offense did in fact play decently well, and it's tricky because the Panthers, I feel like, are amongst one of the most up and down teams in the league right now. Where it's like one game you're like the Panthers might be a legitimate playoff threat for almost all these teams going in, and then the next week you're like, these guys put up like 40 yards in the entirety of the game. Like, what, that's obviously an exaggeration, but that's kind of the feeling that the Panthers have. And so, like, I do favor the Rams going into this. I'd like most people, I would say. But Panthers defense, I think, is ultimately what's going to hold this team in content, like, to be competitive here. And then, Rico Dowdle has played really well this season as well, but obviously Rams defense is still really good. And so, it almost feels like the first game is a practice match, and it comes down to which coaching staff can make those adjustments in game 2 of this head-to-head, that'll push them to the win. And I think I trust McVay as a head coach overall, more between the head coaching battle here. And so that's why I think I'd give the Rams the win.
Yeah, props to the Panthers for somehow winning the division. That was crazy. But their offense is not really great. They're bottom of the league, pretty much. They're 27th in points per game. They're 27th in total yards per game, 26th in passing yards per game, and 19th in rushing yards. So the short fields and the turnovers is what's really going to turn this one. Because I don't trust their offense to consistently go down the field against a vaunted Ramsey. We have to remember, this Rams team was the number 1 seed throughout the majority of the season. It was only during the back quarter of the season that they started to slide in some of these games. And if that Seattle game goes a different way, who knows? They could be sitting at the top of the NFC right now. I think the thing that stands out to me, obviously, besides the turnovers, is what's going to happen if Ted McMillan gets locked up? What are their answers outside? Because in my opinion, I don't think McMillan's there yet. I think he has his whole career ahead of him, but there's still a ways to go for him being a wide receiver 1 for a franchise. And despite that, his rookie season, he had 1,000 yards. So he's going to get the looks. He's going to get the opportunities. Bryce Young trusts him. But if he's locked up, can Coker, can Tremble, can these guys, can Jimmy Horn Jr., can they step up against a Rams defense like that? And I'm probably going to say no. I just look at the whole scheme in the situation. That's just a big mismatch. And you got the Devontae Puka thing to worry about. We forget, Devontae Adams hasn't played in a minute. So that's a big factor to consider here. So, I'm going to have to go with the Rams as well.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, the main reason people are even having a discussion of could the Panthers win this is simply just the fact that they won earlier in the season.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if it was a close win for the Rams earlier in the season where it was 20-17 or something, I don't think anybody's really questioning if the Rams even have a shot in it, or thinking Panthers even have a shot in this. And it's Rams easy, but simply by the fact that the Panthers in fact caused an insane upset, which I think more often than not we just consider that a trap game for the Rams and then move on from that. But it makes for interesting discussion. So good on you, Panthers, for upsetting the Rams earlier in the season
and losing your way to the playoffs. Brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Obviously, wish them the best of luck here. But next on the docket, one I'll be really paying close attention to. Packers and Bears, Saturday night, part 3. This is I am nervous. I am really no Micah. That's a big deal, but I am nervous because these teams are like neck and neck, and I don't know how the Bears will respond in a playoff game with Ben Johnson leading them. I know Caleb has had very clutch moments this year, but what I saw in that Lions game is in very high level situations, you've had drop after drop after drop, guys missing assignments, penalties, pre-snap, guys not giving full effort. I've been dogging DJ Moore like at various points this season. I'm gonna say that interception was on him at the end of the first half. He didn't put his full effort into it. It probably still would have got picked off, and they probably would have been an incomplete pass. But you cannot give up on plays at this stage of the playoffs. This is where you leave it all out on the line. And I don't know what to make of the Bears until I see it to believe it. So that's kind of my attitude with them. And plus the past 2 weeks with their leaky defense, especially in the middle of the field, everybody's been pointing it out. It's a big weakness of theirs. And I'm at the point of like, do you get rid of Dennis Allen or do you consider the injuries and be like, who's he had to work with? Kyler Gordon's may come back. Braxton Jones also activated out of IR. Kyler Gordon's going to be a huge help because I don't know what's going on with TJ Gardner-Johnson. Cole Kmet seemed okay in his press conference. Don't know if he's playing, but he'll be a huge help. But yeah, I'm nervous because Matt LaFleur is a really good offensive schematic play caller. And if you saw what Kyle Shanahan did and what the Lions did with all their playmakers, he is going to target the middle of the field. How do the Bears respond? Because you do not want to get in a game with the Packers where they're just like between the 20s, just absolutely gashing you and holding on to the ball. They're middle of the road in points per game. They're not a high-scoring offense. But it's like in the playoff game and limited possessions like that, it's something that worries me if the Bears can't resolve that.
Yeah, I think one of the largest aspects of this game is going to be the overall health of the Packers running back room. Bears have allowed the 6th most rushing yards in the league this season, which is a pretty awful look to have going into the playoffs where, while most teams don't have the highest paid, premier running backs, but most teams have a functional and reliable running game that they can, go back to if the pass game does struggle. I mean, I look at the Broncos, where the Broncos rush attack, I think, amassed 2,000 rush yards over the course of this season with all their running combined. And it's like the Bears defense has allowed almost 2,300 rush yards on top of like the defense, on top of the pass, in the terms of the pass game. The Bears are ranked 11th in most pass yards allowed. And so just having Josh Jacobs be able to gash them throughout basically whenever the Packers want it to happen is going to be the Bears' downfall if like they can't figure out how to slow that down in some semblance. Because I mean, sure, like I think there are in the previous matchups we've seen the Packers pass attack with both Malik Willis and Jordan Love kind of tear up the Bears secondary, but the strength of that secondary is their ability to force turnovers. And so it's like, while it is weak, you can at least hope that the Bears, who have led with interceptions over the course of this season, will be able to create, opportunities where they do intercept passes and, create those opportunities for their own offense. It comes down to the defense, the run defense, really, where that last drive in that first matchup where they pretty much just handed it off to Josh Jacobs every single play, and then they managed to get into scoring position, which forced the Bears to have to do a last-minute drive, which, I mean, they almost converted on, which is really impressive. But, like, the fact that they had to do that because they couldn't stop pretty much a guaranteed run play coming their way is going to be the biggest concern. I will say, though, Bears do have the advantage of it being at home, which I think says a lot about both of these games, where the Packers won game 1 at home, Bears win game 2 at their own home. So I think that is something I think in the playoffs, home field advantage is obviously super important, but I think in this game in particular, this will probably be the most important home field advantage that we see almost throughout the entirety of the playoffs.
I agree. Like across that lakefront, the wind chill's no joke. Like you got to think about your kicking game, like what type of passer you have, how you scheme your offense around. Like Caleb's one of those rare quarterbacks where it doesn't matter. Like you saw the game-winning throw. This is the ability to throw that in the wind. Like it's just absurd. So no, Caleb's going to show up with his ability. It's just a matter of like, for me, it's the other part about it is the pre-snap penalties. For whatever reason, even under Ben Johnson, the Bears have struggled with this, and those are just 3 yards you give him the defense, like without them having to make any effort to stop you, and you can't have those in the playoffs like that, especially in situations like that. And when Matt LaFleur, he's really good about situations. You almost always see the Packers at second or third and short. You never see them in second, third, and long, like in most of their games. The Bears have to get back to doing that and master intensity, because over the past couple first halves, you've seen when the Lions and the 49ers are running the ball well, they're taking up time and possession where the Bears are having the ball for like 5 or 6 minutes. That can't happen in a playoff scenario. You're not going to have enough chances to win. And combined with what you said about the rushing defense and combined with the time possession things we've seen the past couple games, Matt LaFleur is definitely taking a look at that and saying, like, as long as we keep it in game manageable situations, we can limit the potential this top 10 offense has. And if I'm on the other side as a Bears fan, I'm asking, can we maximize our offensive possessions? And that's not a question I want to be asking after the Detroit game. So that's kind of why I'm nervous. But if there's anything that I've realized from the season, Caleb's going to show up. He's clutch. He will find a way to get these guys in the moments. Colston Loveland, Luther Burden have been huge additions. We're getting Rome Odunze back. That's a big wild card to consider, because he was not in any of the Packers and Bears games this year.
For sure.
So that's a unique factor you have to consider as well.
But overall, though, I will say I do have Chicago coming out on top in this game. I think it's going to be scary, but I do think the fact that Chicago, like, they won one, and then the one that they lost, they kept it close, where it was literally one play away from basically sweeping the Packers this season.
With Micah.
Right? Plus, you're at home. And I do sure, the Lions have struggled in the playoff. I mean, like, not struggled necessarily, but like they haven't had as much playoff success as I think as they'd hope with Ben Johnson. But the fact that Ben Johnson comes from an organization that has made the playoffs basically back-to-back years, I think it helps also with that in terms of like first year, second year type head coaches, where it's like he's fresh off of playoff contention with his previous team as a major part of that previous team. And so I think of young coaches, going forward, I do trust Ben Johnson quite a bit in terms of that. Whereas I look at, I don't know, like Liam Cohen, right, with the Jaguars. And I mean, like, he's made it with the Buccaneers, but I feel like the type of success offensively that the Buccaneers have had is a lot different than the atmosphere that the Lions have had with their offensive success entering the playoffs. And so it's like, those are kind of the two big name first year head coaches, right? And so I think, like, just I trust the Ben Johnson experience slightly more in terms of like that. But so it's a nice thing to have, because it's not some rookie head coach that's just like, I don't know, like a Vance Joseph when he came from, I think, Miami to head coach the Denver Broncos a couple of years, like I guess 8 years ago or something. Now it's like, what was he doing in Miami that would have prepared him for the playoffs? Nothing really. But Ben Johnson, he's cool. Yeah.
All right. You know what I'm already going to pick? I can't go against the Bears. I think they got this. I'm nervous, but hey, this is what the playoffs are, baby. This is what we see, like what they're made of. So, really, really excited to watch Saturday night. Glad you brought up Lincoln Cohen because our next matchup is the Bills, who have never won on the road in the playoffs, going against first-year head coach Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence has had a heck of a season. 4,000-yard passer, 29 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Let me get that back up actually. Okay, hold on. I did that. I'm gonna change the settings on it. Okay, there we go. I don't know why it showed for 10 seconds, but whatever. Yeah, Trevor Lawrence having a breakthrough season. Travis Etienne, 1,100-yard rusher. Jacoby Myers, ever since he's come in, has been a big factor. James Cook is going to be a big, big factor for the Buffalo Bills. He has 1,600 rushing yards for the team. In fact, they're tops in the league in rushing yards per game. Passing offense is middle of the road, but points per game, they're extremely high in that regard. So are the Jaguars. I think the thing that stands out to me with the Bills is, one, can they get over the hump this entire playoffs without Lamar, without Burrow, without Mahomes? That is going to be the big test for them. And they have a lesser talented team than they've had in the previous playoffs. But this is not a situation where they're significant underdogs. Their defense is probably equally as good as Jacksonville. Like, they're both great at taking the ball away. They're both middle of the road in like turnovers per game. I think the thing that stands out to me that's a big discrepancy is Buffalo is like bottom of the league in rushing yards allowed, whereas Jacksonville's the best team in the league at that.
Yeah, isn't that
so?
Crazy?
That's going to be a big thing to look at. Can the Jaguars exploit that weakness? So yeah.
Yeah, and like my take on this is, I think offenses are like yardage wise and like overall threat wise, I think are pretty on pace for each other. But I just feel like Jacksonville's defense is a way scarier team to go against in terms like their defense compared to the Bills. And it's a shame for the Bills because like this is probably the most open of a playoff picture they've ever entered into. And it just so happens that this is probably when their team has been at its worst during the Josh Allen is a good quarterback portion of his career. You know, where it's like, you don't have to go through Lamar, you don't have to go through Joe Burrow, and you don't have to go through Patrick Mahomes. Yet it's like, it's a tough playoff bracket that they'll have to fight their way through. Because it's like, yeah, you go against Jacksonville here, right? Who have the best rushing defense in the league. But like the second best rushing defense in the league is the Denver Broncos. And then the fourth best rushing defense in the league is the Houston Texans. And then the number 6 best rushing defense in the league is the New England Patriots. All of the best rushing pretty much all of the best rushing defenses in the are like in the playoffs and are in their way to go to the Super Bowl. And that's what the Bills have like been the best at this season, is rushing the football. And so it'll be a really interesting, I guess, test for them to see, like, can they overcome these really incredible rush defenses? Because then it's like these teams have been able to score like via passing as well, or they've been able to stop the pass as well in addition to their rushing. Obviously, they're not as good at the pass defense as the rush defense in all these situations, but like, it's going to be a really tough matchup for them. I mean, I think Buffalo's got the coaching experience in terms of playoff, like overall playoff experience as a head coach. But even then, Jacksonville, I think, is going to be a tough team, especially Jacksonville. More than anything, is they're just a hot team right now. Where like, it's not like where they've been like on and off throughout the season. Like the back half of the season, Jacksonville has looked like an unstoppable team. They beat Denver at home, which I think says a lot. I mean, there's talks about like, oh, the certain calls didn't go Denver's way or whatever. That doesn't matter. Like Jacksonville managed to go to Denver, and beat the Broncos, which I think is a scary thing to do. And so it's not going to be some snooze fest that, Jacksonville had some cakewalk schedule and are just going to be a high or a strong record first round bounce. That's pretty easy for the Bills that you may have expected maybe halfway through the season when T-Law didn't look as good as he is looking right now.
I totally hear you. I just think for Bills fans, they're probably really concerned right now just hearing this. But I think the one comfort they have is you do have Josh Allen. And given everything you said about the Jacksonville Jaguars, cool. But the Bills got Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And he's been in these spots before where you're like, gee, how is he going to get it done? He has no weapons. We've had that conversation about the Bills before. And they've made it work. And as long as you have that guy under center, you're in any single ball game.
Yeah.
The one thing working against them right now, and this is the kind of thing that's bit them in the past in previous playoff games, and we just saw a game decided by a field goal or lack of like making the field goal, right? From both sides of the kick. They can't, like Matt Prater, he's not going to be available for them. Like he's not out there. Like because he reactivated his quad injury. Who was there? Tyler Bass, I think he's out, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Like, you can't rely on him. They tried to sign Michael Badgley. He missed an extra point in all the games he was playing, and he's missed 5 all season if you count the time of the Colts. Like, you're looking at like trying to try out kickers for a playoff game. Then they have to get accustomed for new snapper, new holder. Like potentially going down to Jacksonville where it's humid. Like this is, you can't let the game get decided by a field goal if you're Buffalo, because it's like that could be problematic. But I think as long as Josh Allen can keep them within one score, like in a vacuum, they have as equal shot as anybody. Even though they have a weaker team. The bigger question is, will his supporting cast show up for this game, like in a highlight situation? That's going to be the big difference in this game.
Yeah, and like and I'm not saying it's not going to be a close game or it's not going to be. I think it will come down to the wire with this game. Honestly, I feel like if this game was played at home in Buffalo for them, in cold weather, I think Buffalo takes this
completely different story. I agree.
A lot easier. But the fact that this is home in Jacksonville, I think that plus just talking about the defense, obviously Josh Allen factor is always going to be keeping his team in the game. But I think in this instance, I might have to give the slight edge to Jacksonville here. But like amongst there's a lot of toss-up wild card games. But like this alongside, I'd say like the 49ers Eagles in some ways feel like almost the most like equal power versus power type like matchups that we've have in the playoffs right now, where it's like I look at like the Bears and the Packers, and I feel like with injuries and everything, and then being at home, like there's a lot of things leaning me towards the Bears direction. With the Rams and the Panthers that we just talked about too, it's like there's a lot of factors that lead me thinking like Rams have a decent advantage going into this game, whereas like Jacksonville and Buffalo, like they have their strengths. I just think Trevor Lawrence is really hot right now, so it's like Josh Allen obviously is, in my opinion, still probably the best quarterback in the league. Maybe Lamar's right there. I mean, Lamar healthy's right there, but Lamar's not in the playoffs right now, So, yeah, it's crazy how literally it's open playoffs and then Buffalo can't even win their division because the Patriots all of a sudden had to show up.
Yeah, tough draw. Just a funny stat to close us out here is the Josh Allen versus Josh Allen battle for a third time.
Oh, yeah.
Remember in 2021 and Urban Meyer's second and final victory as a head coach. Josh Hines Allen had 8 tackles, a sack, and an interception against Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm.
And the other match that they had, he didn't really do much. One tackle. Josh Allen, the QB, went off that game. That would be a fun matchup to see because right now it's a pick 'em, like which Josh Allen's going to start. So, yeah, that's a fun thing to look at there.
Yeah.
All righty. This one just turned out very, very interesting. Rematch of the NFC Championship game of years ago. Let's see here. I don't know why I keep saying show for 10 seconds. But 49ers and Eagles. A lot of people are down on the Eagles. Like at this point in the season, they've looked good as of late. And a lot of people are looking at the 49ers and just like in awe of like how they're been able to have a 12-win season, given the amount of people they lost on their roster. To me, the thing for the positives for the Eagles, defense, elite, top 5. They've allowed 19.1 points per game. Really, really good at avoiding turnovers. They're 4th in the league at that. They're turning it over at less than 1 a game, 0.9. The big thing for them is can they run and gain yardage on this porous 49ers defense? If they can, I think Eagles have this in the bag. But the big thing is this entire season, the story in the Eagles is they've gotten in their own way on offense and haven't figured it out. And you don't know which Eagles is going to show up. But I think there's an avenue for them, especially at home, to really make a statement here in the playoffs. On the San Francisco 49ers side of it, it's obviously like, can this high-power offense show up against this defense, especially after last week in Seattle? And Seattle looks like the Eagles' defense of last year. They just look insane. But you can't have a repeat performance of that if you're Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan. You're too talented not to. And those are going to be the two sides of the coin to look at.
Yeah, it's really weird to try and diagnose like how this 49ers offense. I think it's going to be the Eagles' defense that I think more determines how this game's going to go, because I feel like despite the offensive struggles of the Eagles throughout the course of the season, because honestly, with their offense, I was like, these teams look like a first-round bump, but then I see it's against this version of the 49ers, and I'm like, you know what? This might actually be a game. Because I look like, obviously Seahawks have a incredibly stifling defense, held the 49ers to 3 points, but then it's like, oh, the 49ers offense looks phenomenal, but then I see it's against the Bears, the Colts, the Titans, and the Browns are the 4 games prior to this, and like these 4 teams, at least the back half of the season, have sucked defensively. Sure, Myles Garrett has the sack record now, which obviously congratulations to Myles Garrett, right? But like beyond Myles Garrett and like Denzel Ward, they have a couple guys on defense, but like Browns defense is always on the field because their offense sucks. Bears have one of the worst defenses in the league. Colts just kind of fell apart back half of the season, unfortunately. So, they mauled them there. You face the Titans, and you're like, well, you better maul the Titans too, And so it's like, they had these games that they should win, that they did win handedly. But then you go back to the Panthers, where it looks like they dominated the Panthers 20-9. But, like, we know how the Brock Purdy interception, that was like his first game back, so it's hard to, or second game back, so it's hard to gauge how fully healthy, and ready Brock was ready to go. But the turnovers, you have one good defense in the Panthers where your offense struggles and you're bailed out by the Panthers offense sucking. And then you go against another really good defense at the very end of the season in the Seahawks where you struggle. And so it's like, if the Eagles can get all their defense like set up and situated in order, I think it'll be a big concern for the 49ers. But that's also a lot to ask for the Eagles to do, especially with how much the Eagles offense has struggled and forced the Eagles defense to stay on the field for prolonged periods of times as well.
Yeah, I think the thing that stands out to me is we look at this is a top 5 passing offense. but their leading receiver is Christian McCaffrey at 924 yards. Like, the thing that I'm going to look at here is, like, because I know Kittle's ramping up and Pearsall's pushing. I don't know if he's going to play or not. But the thing I'm looking at is, like, how do Pearsall and Kittle fare against the rest of this defense? And what do the Eagles defense do around Kittle? Because these are big problems to pay attention to. Do you put DeGene on him? How's that going to affect the rest of, like, Kyle Shanahan's scheme? Or do you just try the bracket cover him? Like, how do they handle that matchup? Like, or combination of both? That's going to be the thing I'm looking at. If I'm the Eagles, I'm looking at, like, how do we just stick to what worked last year with Saquon and just being physical, running the ball, being relentless about it, and then opening up the passing angles behind that? Because this is a very porous defense with a lot of space in the middle of the field you can expose, especially without Fred Warner. I'm not sure what his timetable is on recovery. But if the Eagles are able to stick to that script, that's that's kind of the key to successful offense for them. So just things to consider on both sides.
Yeah. So, like, it was funny because we talked about this, like, a couple of weeks ago too, how, like, this could be an interesting matchup, and then it ended up coming to fruition because, like, basically there's spots in the playoff bracket have not really changed. I mean, they fluctuated a bit, but then, like, at the end, it ended up where they ended up going head to head against each other. Yeah, but he said, yeah, like, I mean, like you said, like, the 49ers have really unique weapons, and so it's, like, really tricky on how to deal with them. I think another huge part of this will be, like, Trent Williams' health status going into this game. I know he was said to be close to be playing against the Seahawks at Week 18, which makes me think that, like, he probably will be back for this game. But, like, I mean, I think Williams would almost force himself to play this game just because he's, like, it's kind of it really is a do or die game. But, like, if Williams goes down, I know McCaffrey's numbers, and someone has tracked, like, McCaffrey's running numbers with and without Trent Williams, and it drops, like, 0.6 yards per carry or something,
Wow.
which is an insane stat. So it's like, even if you start with Williams and then he goes down with injury again, like, honestly, I feel like 49ers might be cooked here just because of how reliant they've been on Christian McCaffrey over the course of the season. But again, Eagles offense, I feel like they sucked more in the beginning of the season and have kind of played better in the back half. But even then, it's kind of marginally better, in my opinion. But, yeah.
I forgot to ask this at the end of our Bills and Jaguars preview. I have the Bills just purely because they have Josh Allen. Who did you have for the Bills versus Jags?
I have Jacksonville winning.
Okay. Yeah. To me, that's a pick 'em. Leading Jacksonville, but my heart says the Bills just because of the playoff experience.
Yeah.
The opportunity there. As far as 49ers, Eagles, give me the Eagles here. I trust their Super Bowl experience and playoff experience. I think 49ers have a lot more weaknesses that we didn't know about until they played against Seattle. And having that late in the year, along with the Eagles trying to figure things out against weaker rushing defenses, I think just for this 1 week, give me the Eagles here.
Yeah. Yeah, Eagles. And I think, and looking further into the playoffs, I think the Eagles winning helps the Bears slightly too in terms of, like, playoff competition, at least for one more week. I don't know if you've looked into that much, but, like,
fingers crossed. I'm just worried about this weekend.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if I'm a Bears fan, I do not want to face the Rams in round 2.
I definitely don't want to do that either.
But what's our next matchup?
Yeah, we got 2 more. Next one is really good one. I'm excited about this. Chargers and Patriots. Right now, the Patriots are favored by 3.5 points. It's kind of weird for me looking at the Patriots playing in the Wildcard because the entire season they've almost been like number one in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Drake May, MVP like season, 31 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, almost 4,400 yards. Trayvon Henderson's come on late, 911 yards, 9 touchdowns. Stephon Diggs, 1,000-yard receiver for them. Justin Herbert on the other side, 26 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, 3,700 yards. It's been a struggle with Harris going down and then Hampton getting injured for portions of the season, and McConkey starting out slow, but they figured it out. They've got some offense to go. Like they're really good as far as yardage, top 10. Not in the points per game, but luckily their defense is just absurd. 1.5 takeaways a game. That's really good. Just talked about Jesse Minter and the passing game allowed, and rushing yards. They're both top 10 and top 3 in yards allowed. So really good to see from the Chargers. It's just a battle of defenses, and it's going to be like who's going to get one more takeaway than the other in my head. And I starting of the season, I would have said Chargers would win this matchup just because the Texans did not do much in the offensive line. But as the season has progressed, the Texans have slowly started to figure out schemes and concepts, especially with 7 linemen fronts, that have helped them generate offense. And I think they're just slowly creeping up into that area where they can make some headway on the offensive side of the ball. And I don't think we could have said about that about the Texans the first 8 weeks. So how are you looking at this matchup?
Yeah. Honestly, like the biggest weakness of the Chargers is simply their offensive line. Chargers offensive line is, in my opinion, probably the worst unit in the league right now, just with like injuries and whatnot. And so like the fact that their offense has been able to produce despite that is kind of what gives me hope for like the Chargers being competitive in this game. Because I think, the fact that Justin Herbert has had like a broken left hand or something. They traded for Trevor Penning, of all people in the entire world, to play the offensive line for them, just for them to bench him anyways because he's that bad at football. Like, that's the current state. And the fact that they did this well this season and put up the offensive numbers that they did, I think is really incredible. And I feel like I'd say the biggest knock on the Patriots is just the overall strength of schedule. And I mean, like, you only can play who you play, right? So like you got like it's like a two-sided blade when you talk about strength of schedule for teams. It's like the Patriots beat the guys they should have beaten, but then also it's like because of how they were last season, they didn't necessarily face that strong of a schedule this season, which obviously benefited them in terms of overall team health, where they're not really like throwing their guys out on the line because they're trying to eke in these last second grindy wins against a lot of teams. And, and like, they're not really struggling against the teams throughout the schedule, despite, obviously they lost a couple of games, right? But like, I look at that and I'm like, I think that's what really makes this, I think, a closer game than what I think a lot of people see just looking on from the outside. Because everybody sees the numbers of Drake May and they're like, oh, this guy's an MVP candidate. And I think it's understandable that he's, close to that being an MVP candidate. Like, without him, I don't think they're this good. I think they could still be a good team just due to the fact that, again, their schedule's a bit weaker, but they also have a phenomenal defense. Ramondre Stevenson, despite his fumbling woes, has put together another strong season with split carries. Trayvon Henderson played well. Stephon Diggs played well. Kayshon Boutte was decent enough. Demario Douglas was decent. Hunter Henry's been a solid, reliable check down piece for Drake May when he needs it. So I think, and so like I think this will be close. Part of me just like feels like Justin Herbert just got to get one playoff win eventually, and like, it's not like I'm saying right here. I'm gonna say the Chargers win this just for the fact that like it'd be crazy if Herbert just continues not to get a playoff win. Just like with how long he's been in the league and how long he's been considered a good quarterback at a competitive level.
Yeah, this one's another pick 'em for me. Because if you look at the Patriots' losses, like I'd have to look at their schedule in detail.
Mm-hmm.
The last loss was to the Bills. Past 5 games,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they went 4-1. So when they lose games, they're not usually losing them by blowouts. That's not the same Patriots team anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna lose tightly contested games,
Mm-hmm.
and you could say the same thing about the Chargers almost.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's one of those situations where it's like, I think it's gonna be decided by a field goal, like for this particular matchup, because the defenses are so good and they're both like on pins and nails good to each other, where it's just gonna depend on like who has the ball last. And it's a real toss it to me. I feel bad for Herbert, like for all the reasons you mentioned. I think this is gonna be a moment where Drake May is gonna realize this is not the regular season. It's the playoffs, and it's gonna be one of those moments where it's like, I think the inexperience in that is gonna come to bite him this year. I don't know if it's gonna happen in this matchup or the next. But I could see it happening against a Mitter defense because the way he runs the schemes and manages to limit offensive firepower is just remarkable. And I think the Chargers get one more possession to win this game. I think it's fully possible it's going to be a 2017 game and leave it at that. And it's hard to fathom the Patriots, who are so high powered like all year long, scoring that much, but I think it's going to come down to that in the playoffs. So give me the Chargers as well.
Yeah, and additionally, like I look back at that Bills loss that they had, right, and like first half of that game, it looked like, oh, I can turn this football game off. The Patriots are manhandling the Bills right now, and then the second half starts, and the Patriots offense almost feels non-existent, which is what allowed the Bills to come back from such a great deficit. And so it's like, I mean, it's like, I believe in the idea that Vrabel can make second half adjustments. He's been a head coach before. He's been a coach of a winning team in the Titans back when it was Tannehill and Derrick Henry as well. So like, he has playoff and winning experience. It's just like, what in that second half, or like that locker room at halftime, was, I guess, the killer that the Bills coordinators and coaching staff was able to figure out, that was able to outclass the Patriots in that instance. And so obviously it's a game-to-game situation, but yeah, I think this will be closer than I think a lot of people, at least initially, thought when they first looked at it. But then I think as more people look into this specific game, they're going to realize how close of a matchup it is.
Yeah, like I don't feel comfortable picking the Chargers. Like, again, playoffs, I don't think you're going to feel comfortable picking anybody. But it's one of those things, one of those years where it's like it's completely wide open. Any team can win it this year, especially in the AFC. And I feel like if it's just a one game and you haven't like inexperienced quarterback play, especially with all the superlatives we threw out for Herbert. If Herbert is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, I think this is going to be the difference, like against like a really, really good quarterback right now, but super young. He's going to go against all these playoff defenses and see what happens. So, yeah, don't feel great about this, but that's where we're at. All right. Another great defense going to this last matchup on Monday night. Houston Texans, Steelers. Given the Texans, I'm done.
Yeah, I feel comfortable saying the Texans too. I flipped.
But diving deeper a little bit, we'll dive deeper for this. I'm not going to say the Steelers were lucky to be here. I think there's certainly I'm catching myself because I'm like, really? Were they? I don't know. But I think having Aaron Rodgers just helped them have more consistency offensively than what they've seen in years past.
Mm-hmm.
But there's too much unknowns. Like how does DK look coming back from the suspension?
Mm-hmm.
What do they do when he gets blanketed by Houston and has to
Mm-hmm.
go against Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter? The combination of that combined with that entire secondary, they struggle to get open against different teams in their last two matchups, like the Browns. Like they really struggled there. So if you struggle against the Browns defense, what makes you think you're gonna do really well against the Texans defense? Texans don't allow any rushing yards, so it's gonna be hard for Warren, and they're probably gonna make it a focal point to stop Gainwell because outside of DK and Gainwell, the Steelers don't really have that much. So it's just about, can the Steelers limit turnovers, and can they find a way to generate third down conversions? Because between the 20s, I don't trust them to gain like large explosive plays. I don't think they have that kind of offense against the secondary. And it's on the other side of it is with Houston, like, can CJ Stroud and this offense can continue to trend upward and progress? Because right now they have a strong thing going. They're in rhythm. They're firing on all cylinders. But yeah, those are the two sides of the coin I'm looking at.
And my biggest concern with the Steelers is like both in passing and rushing, they're below like the league average in terms of yards per game. And like I pair that with the fact that the Texans have had one of the best defenses. They have had pretty much the best defense, at least numbers wise. Maybe tied with the Seahawks, really, with in the league this season. Best defense in the AFC, I feel like I can confidently say. Which I think is the big scary for the Steelers going into this matchup. And then with the Steelers, it's like the Texans, numbers wise, pass attack, they've been around league average, and then rush attack, they've been slightly below average, I think, like maybe around like the 20 to 25-ish range in terms of like yards per game rushing the ball. But I feel like first half of the season Texans offensively versus back half of the season Texans offense have looked like different teams, where it's like, sure, they're not the most explosive offense still, but like they've gotten a lot better. I feel like Nico Collins looked really slow at the start of the season. The back half, he's really taken off, and then tested him. The healthy scratch in week 18. He's fully healthy going into this match. I think is a scary thing. Higgins, the 525 rookie that you want to see, which is a fact from. If the Steelers can shut down this attack, then I think you have more of a game here. But I think there's a lot of things going against the Steelers in this game, which makes it hard for me to see them making this a super competitive game. But at the same time, you do have Aaron Rodgers, if that still means anything to you today. But it's like last time Rodgers was in the playoffs, I felt like it's always a scary thing. But that's been quite some time now that we've seen Rodgers in the playoffs. So, who knows?
Yeah, and then there's also the Nico Collins factor and what we just saw from Baltimore. Because literally the last 3 drives of the game, and that's Steelers-Baltimore matchup, Baltimore scoring in like 5 seconds. They were going down the field. Like they were like, there was one play I saw on the broadcast where Baltimore just like fake tossed or fake handed off to Derrick Henry, and their touchdown to Zay Flowers. There was nobody on the entire left side of the field, like the left corner. There was nobody. That's not supposed to happen in coverage. And for like a vaunted Steelers defense like that, that's just inexcusable. You have TJ Watt coming back from a collapsed lung, scary in itself. You have secondaries that it's just very inconsistent. And from offensive standpoint, like outside of DK and like what's his name? Kind of Gainwell. Who do you have reliably? they've been trying to find veterans off the street for that very reason. Like, at some point, it's got to give, and the Texans defense is miles better than the Ravens defense at this point in the season. So, yeah, give me the Texans here.
Yeah.
Alrighty, that'll do it for us. Hope you guys enjoyed our previews, and this should be fun. We're looking forward to the slate of games this weekend and trying to see who comes out on top. Hopefully, the Broncos don't lose in their bye week. And the Bears somehow make it over the Packers. I'll be on my hands and knees and like covering my eyes until it's confirmed. But yeah. Until then, thank you guys so much for watching. You can follow us on Instagram at amon.a.mission. New Year, always a good time to look at new episodes. And we have those on the YouTube channel at Amon on Mission. Corstian, what do you want to let the public know before we head off?
Broncos winning the Super Bowl. Peace.
You heard him, guys.